Hi guys, I'm a Forester here with another pen video. Now if you follow my channel, you've seen these three pens before. One I said was surprisingly nice, one is fantastic, and one was a bit of a disappointment. Now these are the three pens that I bought in relation to my last China trip. All three made in China or Taiwan. Now I reviewed the surprisingly nice pen, the Hero 359. Today I'm going to stay positive and I'm going to review the fantastic pen, and it's the TWSBI Eco. We'll save the Moon Man for another video. Now this pen has been out for several years. There are plenty of reviews on it on the internet, but this pen is new to me and it's the first TWSBI that I've owned. So I'm excited to bring you my thoughts on the Eco. Let's go to the tabletop and I'll get started. Okay guys, the Eco gives you a lot of features for just a little bit of money. I guess that's why they call it the Eco, for economical. It's a great buy at under $30. And by the way, this is a pen I tried to find while I was in China, but it was actually much cheaper for me to wait and buy it when I got back to the States, even though it's made in Taiwan. I did find a bookstore in the Westlake area of Hangzhou, China that had an excellent selection of pens, but I'm not going to bother to recommend them because their prices were very high. Here's the packaging that the pen came in. The outer sleeve is plain except for this TWSBI logo. And let me show you the label here. It gives you the information that you need. It's an Eco piston filling fountain pen made in Taiwan. Inside is just a very simple plastic box. Probably most of you are very familiar with the Eco packaging. Inside there's some good information on how to fill the pen with ink and also how to take it apart. I won't bother to go into all that. I did want to point out though that they do have a wrench. It's a plastic wrench, and they also have some silicone grease. Now I just happened to need some silicone grease for the eyedropper pen in my collection that was leaking, and so this came in very handy. I didn't have to buy any. I used some of this, and that pen has not leaked since. Alright, let's take a look at the pen itself. I had put off buying any TWSBI pen because I don't prefer demonstrator pens, to be honest, but I'm glad I went ahead and bought this Eco. I like to match my pens with ink, and I needed a dedicated blue pen for everyday writing. Now this translucent blue version was perfect for me. I just inked it up with this diamine blue velvet ink, which I love, by the way. The blue of the pen and the dark blue of the ink really make that red finial pop. These are my two favorite colors, by the way, blue and NC State red. Now while we're looking at the cap, I just want to point out that the cap is hexagonal in shape. It has a metal band down here at the bottom that says TWSBI on one side, and if you rotate it around, it says Eco and made in Taiwan. The cap has one feature that is truly unique, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody mention it in any of their videos, but it's this liner in here, and that has a purpose. Let me give you a shot from the end. The purpose is to seal against the end of this section right here. Let me demonstrate. But that protects the nib from drying out. I think you can see that. Now I discovered that by accident because when I first got the pen, before I had inked it up, I took it out of the box, the cap was still on the end, and I was playing with the piston mechanism, driving the piston down. And as the piston got close to the nib assembly, I realized that there were some internal pressures because it was pushing the piston away. And when I looked closer, I realized it was because of this seal right here that's created to protect the nib from drying out. But it kept air from escaping and enough pressure that it actually pushed the piston backwards. I thought that was a very neat feature, and as a result I've never had any hard start issues with this pen. Now the cap comes off with one complete turn right there. And I did want to point out with this darker color it's hard to see, but there's actually an O-ring right there and an O-ring right here. You might be able to pick that up, but that helps the cap stay more secure, and so it's not going to fall off. I don't post pens, but if I did, that would be a handy feature. Now, the barrel is cylindrical in shape. I don't sense any taper at all to it. If there is, it's very slight. You know, you can see the ink sloshing around in there, which is a nice feature of the pen. The section does taper. It tapers a little bit from this point on, and I wanted to try to show you that there are some facets that are cut out of the section which aid in gripping. Now, this pen is a great size for me. I have large hands, and it's long enough to where it really fits my hand well. I grip it about at this length right here. I don't get right down to the end. I like to take this hold. I don't post my pens because I just like the way they feel this way. This nib is very fine. Excuse me, it's fine, not very fine. But on the nib it has the TWSBI logo as well as it says TWSBI. And there's the feed assembly. All in all, this pen has a lot of quality and a lot of features. Okay, it's time for the writing sample, and we're using my Rhodia notepad. This has been capped, so I'm going to uncap it, and then we'll see how it starts up. And of course, this is the TWSBI Eco, and mine has a fine nib. And I'm using one of my favorite inks, Diamine Blue Velvet. And that's going to stay in this pen. Okay, just give you a little bit of scribbles. It's a little rougher writing that way than it is the other. That's pretty wet, but it shows you the color a little bit better. I really like this nib. And here's the quote for the day. The most successful people I know are also the most reliable. And that was said by Wayne Gerard Trotman. Now, Wayne Trotman was an electronic musician and a filmmaker. I didn't know who he was, I just liked the quote. The TWSBI Eco is very reliable, and I think that's one reason why it's proved to be successful. And so in summary, you already know what I think. I think the TWSBI Eco is a fantastic pen. I only have one other pen in my collection that writes better, and it's this Conklin Firelines. But the Conklin is 4 times as expensive. It should write better. At under $30, I would recommend the Eco to anybody looking for a starter pen. You won't be disappointed, and it might be the only pen you need for a long time. I'll put a link to this pen in the description box below in case you want to check it out. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for my review of the final Chinese pen in this series, the Moonman M600. Y'all take care.